Hello, in this video we're going to look at how to solve quadratic equations, and it's one of those really important skills that you need to make sure you know how to do. And in this video we're going to look at the non-calculator way of doing it, okay? And it's essential for your non-calculator exam that you know how to do this. You might get a question that is just like this one where you have to solve a quadratic equation, or you might get a question towards the end of the paper where it's quite a few steps and then you have to do a particular thing, and then you get something at the very end that looks like this equation, which you then need to go on to solve. So it's essential for like those basic questions where you need to solve it, or those much harder questions where you do a lot of working out and then it ends up being at the end a quadratic equation which you then need to go on to solve. So you've got to practice this until you know it really, really well. Okay, now there's different ways of doing it, but one really, really important thing is that whenever you solve a quadratic equation, it needs to equal 0, okay? And that's essential. You need to have 0 on one side of the equation. Whether it equals 0 here or on the other side, it makes no difference as long as it equals 0, okay? So if it doesn't equal 0, you need to add or take things away from both sides until you get 0 on one side. You'll see that on some of the later exam questions where you need to do a bit of working out, and then you get to a point where you need to balance it, and then you need to make it equal to 0, and then you go on to solve it. Okay. Once you get it equaling 0, like this one here, then you need to actually factorize this into double brackets. Okay. Now, there's different ways of doing that. So one option is you guess. So you take a guess as to what can be in the bracket. So it could be maybe something like 5x and 2x here. And because it ends in -9, it's probably going to be, let's see, we want a positive 9 in there. So maybe we need a 3 there and a negative 3 there to make it -9 at the end. So that's probably what the double bracket is. And if you quickly expand that, so we get 10x squared plus 15x, take away 6x, take away 9, and in the middle we get our 9x. So yeah, this is definitely the double bracket. Okay, so one option is to guess. Another option is that if you're struggling and the guessing's not going very well, you can use that method of the following method, where you take the first number and you multiply it with the last number. That's -90. And then you need to find two numbers that multiply to this number that you just worked out, and that they add to the middle number, which is 9. Okay, so the two numbers that multiply to -90 and add to 9 are -6 and 15. Okay, I think it's definitely that. Yeah, they multiply to -90 and they add to -9, so they're definitely the two numbers. Okay, when you found the two numbers, you write it in the middle, so 10x squared, and you replace this middle term with the two numbers with an x in any order. So I'll do it this way around, even though it makes no difference. Let's just do it in the way we've written it. So -6x plus 15x, take away 9 equals 0. Okay, then you chop it in half and you factorize the left-hand side. So what can come out of these two? 2 and an x. And then it'll be 5x, take away 3. And what can come out of this side will be a 3. And it'll be 5x, take away 3. And then the double brackets are... Okay, so let me clear the top bit. Okay. So you don't need to worry about that. It'll go away of its own accord. So the top bit. And it'll be 2x plus 3 is what's in front of the brackets, and 5x take away 3 is the other bracket. Okay, so let me get rid of that and those two. Okay, now, so once you've got the double bracket stage, it's very easy to actually work out what the answer is to the equation, as long as it equals 0, that is. Okay, so the first bracket is 2x plus 3, and what you want to imagine is, what if that bracket equals 0? Okay, you want something to equal 0, so what if the bracket equals 0? What would x be then? Well, if you solve that mini equation, okay, you have to take away the 3 to the other side, and then you have to divide by the 2. So one of the answers is x equals -3 over 2. That's one of the answers, okay, to this equation. And you can check that. If you put -3 over 2 into the x's, you'll definitely get 0. Okay. Now the other bracket, maybe that bracket could also equal 0. Okay. And if you solve that mini equation, you get 3/5. So the other answer is 3/5. So they're the two answers to this equation. Okay. Now if that doesn't quite make sense, I want you to imagine what's kind of going on here. Let me demonstrate on this side, okay? When you have brackets next to each other, that means they're multiplying each other. So imagine there's a multiplication sign next between these two brackets, which we never write, okay? And you want something to multiply to 0, okay? Because that's the idea behind it. These two brackets are next to each other. You want to multiply them and you want to get 0, okay? So the only way to do that is if one of the brackets equals 0, because 0 times anything is 0, right? So maybe the first bracket could equal 0, or maybe it could be the second bracket that equals 0, okay? So 0 times anything is 0, so basically you want one of the brackets to equal 0, because 0 times 0 is 0. So the idea is you make one of the brackets equal to 0, and then solve that equation, and then you make the other bracket equal to 0 and solve that equation. And then when you solve for x in that, they're your answers. So these are the two answers here, okay? So if I convert that, let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. Okay, let's just convert that again and check it. Okay, so they're the answers. Minus 3 over 2 and 3/5. And just one thing, when you're writing minus 3 over 2, try and put the minus in front, because if you put minus 3 over 2 like this, even though that's technically right, the computer might not recognize it. And just one thing, you know, remember, a minus divided minus is a plus, so just be aware of that as well. Okay, let's do another one. And actually, let's refresh the screen to get rid of this annoying little sign. Okay, oh god, this is much trickier. Right, so we're going to look for two numbers. I'll tell you what, let's just guess on this one, because multiplying 9 by 20 and then finding two numbers that multiply to that answer and add to the middle, it might be a bit of a faff. So let's just kind of go straight into it. So the double brackets. Okay, so let's see. Right, they probably start with a 3x, because you want to get 9x squared, so they probably start with that. And you want positive 20, so they've got to both be negative. So actually, let's try minus 5 and minus 4, because they multiply to positive 20. And because they both start with 3x, it doesn't matter what order they go. Okay, so let's check that. 9x squared minus 15x, take away 12x, plus 20, and does that give you minus 27? It does. Okay, so this has got to be the double bracket. I've just got rid of it. So hang on, so what was that? 3x take away 4, and the other one was 3x take away 5 equals 0. Right, so these are the double brackets that definitely make that. Okay, and it equals 0. Now what I do is I don't bother actually going, okay, what if that bracket equals 0? I don't bother with that, because that's just a bit too time consuming. The trick is really, there's a way to do it, and it's dead easy. Basically, what's the opposite of this number here? Okay, the opposite of that is 4, and you just got to divide it by the 3, and that's it. And if you think about it, look at what's going on here. You add 4 over, you get 3x. You divide by the 3, you get 4/3. So the other one is literally the opposite of that number, which is 5, divided by that number, which is 3, and they're your answers. Okay, let's check that. Okay, that's right. Okay, let's try and find, so these are all non-monics, remember, because they start with a number bigger than 1. Let's try and find one that's a monic. Okay, alright, so these are all non-monics. I thought a program, oh, here we go, there's a non-monic. Okay, so this one's dead easy. Remember, non-monics, you can factorize them straight away. You've got to find two numbers that multiply to the end number. Okay, this time it's minus 3, and add to minus 2. So the double brackets are x, what is it? Multiplies to minus 3 and adds, so it'd be minus 3 and positive 1. Okay, minus 3 times 1 is minus 3. Minus 3 add 1 is minus 2, so they're definitely it. Okay, so the solutions are x equals 3 or minus 1. Now, by the way, you can write the answer in different ways, but there you go, that's fine. It doesn't like the or, but I've programmed it so that, you know what, the best thing to do is just put a comma, okay? So write the 2 with a comma in between them. Alright, so you want to keep practicing this until you've definitely mastered it. It's a really important skill, and you've got to know it really well. Like I said, some of the 5-mark questions that you see towards the end of the paper. You do like a bunch of working out, and then like at the end you get something that looks like this and it equals 0, and you just got to get to that final stage, and then you need to be able to factorize it. So practice this until you're 100% sure that you can do any question like this. Okay, and then look at the next kind of skills which build on this. All right, thank you for watching.